Starting live and are we live? I think we're live. Hello and welcome to That Beautiful Life podcast. This is episode 187 of That Beautiful Life podcast. My name is Kadus Campbell. As always, talking to you from the beautiful I forgot where I live.
Yeah, where am I? Who am I?
The beautiful Reading, United Kingdom.
Yes.
Talking to the beautiful Roger Bergstrom, all the way in Stockholm, Sweden. Raj, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry for laughing, but it sounded a little funny there. Yeah, it's one of those mornings, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm also a bit tired. I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
Yeah, it's just. I thought I would catch a cold or something. I've had like a small feeling of it, but it hasn't really happened, and I hope it will not. Yes, these are morning voices. I think it sounds more morning voice maybe from Q than me, but
I think that's what she's referring to. She's definitely referring to my morning voice.
And morning brain. Morning brain is a good. How's your morning brain doing? Maybe that's a good question.
It's catching up there because I'll be honest, like my missus hasn't probably heard my morning voice properly yet because of the fact that I slept on the sofa. So I was just talking to you, Raj, about like sometimes why I'm like groggy in the morning or how I wake up with regards to the podcast. And it's because like a lot of the time sometimes I like the night before the podcast comes and I get the text message from you with what you're gonna be talking about for show notes, so I can like fit it into the I put it into the YouTube thing and I fill out the form and all, the stuff, right? And when that comes in, sometimes I look at it and I think, holy crap, I haven't watched anything or played anything for the week, or anything of relevant notes. Now, because like in a sense, like sometimes I game, I'll probably play E maybe once or a couple times a week, right? Because I hop on eFootball every now and then. I just maybe have a quick match or something like that, but I don't think there's anything I can add to eFootball in a conversational sense outside of, hey, I've played eFootball again, whereas with most other stuff, I can add something to, I can't do eFootball. The other thing too as well, outside of eFootball, it's the same with Tele. Sometimes I'm not always like watching anything. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm just chilling with the boys, sometimes I'm with my missus, and all the times I might watch YouTube, which I think I watch more YouTube than I watch actual Tele. And it's because of the fact that a lot of times the stuff I get on YouTube is stuff I would probably watch on a Tele stuff. So for example, like I watch a lot of documentaries on YouTube, and I will grab these little mini documentaries that are done by some YouTuber about football or something about economics or different things like that, or maybe I'm listening to a podcast I listen to every week. This week I was listening to a podcast about what do you call this thing? It was an interview of a football player called Ivan Toney talking about getting suspended. He's talking about his life and stuff like that as well, but I think it was mainly about the fact that he got suspended from the Premier League for about 8 months for betting on football.
Right.
Which is against the rules essentially. So he would bet that he would score. That's what he used to bet against. He's like, I'm gonna score. And if he didn't play in his team, like if he was, sidelined or whatever have you, he would bet against the team winning. So he'd be like, oh, the team's not gonna win because I'm not there. So a bit of a high ego about his capabilities. Like saying like, hey, my team's if I'm not there, my team's gonna suck. And I kind of to an extent don't understand like why it's wrong per se, outside of the fact of obviously betting on a sport that you are a part of. Maybe if he bets against his team losing while he's in the team, that's kind of like you're throwing away the game just to win money. He bets against himself winning when he's in the team, which is something that he literally cannot control, in a sense. Like, he can control how good he is. Like, they think, oh, I can think, but he can't control how good the opponents are that day, or how his teammates are that day, or whatever having. So, because football is a team sport. So him betting against himself winning or scoring a goal, I don't see that as a bad thing. I think that's like normal, like good on him. That he actually has the confidence in himself to think, hey, I could do it. I could take these guys today. I could score every day I turn up on the pitch. I could do it. And so stuff like that. Sometimes that's all I listen to on a weekly basis. And look at me, I'm talking about that stuff now, and it's filling up a whole section of the
podcast. Yeah, because I was thinking in the back of my head here, since we started to talk about this before we hit record and the podcast, I think it's perfectly fine to talk about, like, nowadays TV. What does TV mean, really? We don't sit like we did when I grew up, like in front of a TV set and watch like 2 channels. That's what it was,
Same.
Nowadays it's everything, maybe except that,
Yeah.
So I would say Tele can definitely be YouTube. I mean, if there's a special kind of content creator or video you would like to talk about, then do that. I think, I find that interesting too. As you know, I watch YouTube myself. Maybe not as much as I did some years ago, if I'm gonna be straight honest. But I think that's also because I still like make videos every week on my channel, so it becomes like a bit of okay, here we go. so I tend to move away from the platform a bit when I'm not doing that. But I think it's perfectly fine. It doesn't need always to be HBO or Amazon Prime or Netflix or something like that. It can be something going on, because also YouTube is a creative platform, and there's a lot of people also making like fan-made series or whatever have you. So it's a lot of content out there, if you know. But sure, we'll get to that soon again, I would say, in that part. But I'm also curious to hear how has your week been?
Well, generally speaking, I think it's been a bit of a I want to say it's been a packed week. The boys are back at school. They're finally settling back into like a routine with school. So and then
it's good.
I think as a parent, there's the side where you have to get into a routine around their routine. So like when they're home, there's a completely different routine that you're in from when they're not at home. And then you have to get into that routine of being able to sort of like keep up with that kind of stuff. So they're now back at school. They've got their regular 9 to 5, routine. And I've been struggling to get back into my routine because of the fact that I haven't been doing my routine for so long, because I basically took a lot of time during the summer to kind of just like spend time with them, And now that I like that time has like it's no longer there, like they're no longer home. It's like now I've got this time that I'm supposed to be doing my stuff, but I don't know how to do my stuff again. It's like and I think there's I don't know if you've experienced this, but especially when it comes to like maybe content creation or something like that, it's like when you haven't done it for a while, it's really hard to get back on that bike. Maybe it's like working out at the gym. Like you haven't worked out in the gym in a while. So no, it's still a little more difficult. Like with podcasting, it's easy because we do this every week. We never stopped. So it's like it's easy to me to do this on a week by week basis, and I don't feel any strain of doing it. But I think like sometimes I sit down with my laptop and I'm thinking to write an article, or I'm sitting down there and I'm thinking, oh, I know I need to stream today, or I should stream today, and I'm struggling to even like stream. Like I'm thinking like, oh my god, I need to stream, but how? And that to me is it's challenging. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly and how exactly I do these things. You know?
I think this is interesting, because especially if you are or have been like a parent having like kids in the age of, we're talking Savi and Ty, then probably it might be hard if you haven't already, but if you've been in that position or situation, which I of course have. I have 2 sons. They are more or less grown up now. but then you know what it takes from you as a grown-up person or parent for that sake to get it all together. And we're talking everything, like the day-to-day basis routines, to make sure everyone has a meal on the table, so to speak, clean clothes, everything that comes with it. And of course, also keep check when it comes to times, that too. And but I think I think it's important to also listen into yourself, also to feel that what is it that I really want? Like what is things that are kind of expected from me? And I'm now thinking about the part that doesn't really have to do with the cause of like family that you really need to do and fulfill. I'm thinking about you streaming or not streaming or doing this or that. I think it's important to come down to. I am still working on this to a certain extent because I'm doing a lot of things, both when it comes to content creation part, but also the music production and everything. So I need to find those and be sure that I try to follow some kind of routines. And I think the routines includes like everything for me. Also my I see you talking about the gym there. You say, or that's one thing. I mean, since I am that kind of person, I need it. I do it. I've always found or taken the time to somewhere or being able to do it. But to find out what is my essentials, what is that I really need to feel good and everything, because it also always starts there. If you feel good, the rest around you or the people around you will also feel good, because they feel that you are being you and confident in what you're doing and everything. So, but I can definitely understand, especially also since you've had some routines that includes maybe late night work and stuff like that. That becomes, of course, even harder when everything is set to the clock. Like, okay, school starts at whatever 8 or something like that, and it's. But you'll get there. You just have to. You just have to push the restart button. Maybe do like a reboot, ish like that. I think you understand when I say that. The first step, as you say, it's some good advice from your missus here too. First step, then keep on pushing, especially when you. But I'm not sure about that when you don't want to. I think of course, there are certain things you just need to do, and maybe not every time you enjoy it at the fullest. That goes for me as well. When I sit down and start to make some music, it's not always that I have this like super amazing inspiration of a song or something, but it's also a kind of handicraft thing. So when you start, like, there was this classical composer. His name was Igor Stravinsky, and he made "Rite of Spring," which is one of the most played and known pieces within the classic repertoire. Amazing piece of music. But even so, he was one of those guys that he had his routines. He went out this morning. He sat down and he started to compose, like boom, every day like that. And he. It's just an example, So it is true. I kind of, I agree to a certain extent. Some things you might want to leave to a kind of mood thing, but you also need to learn to work with things, even though you don't have the best of days. Maybe you slept a bit bad, or you had a kind of argument with one of your sons or whatever. It could be a lot of things. But to find the space, the time, and the routines once more to make this happen.
It definitely is a bit of like, I think, getting into that mental headspace sometimes and being able to do it, because I think when it comes to like creative things, it's probably the hardest. I think I didn't do like a regular if I do like doing a regular 9 to 5 stuff, or just doing something that you're locked into is really, I find it's easy. And I think it's different for different people. Like if I'm doing something and I don't have to think too much about what I'm doing, it's easy to just maintain that if I need to. I think when I need to come up with something on my own, it's a lot more challenging for me. Now, obviously, when I live stream, I don't have to think of anything outside of like, I'm live streaming. I just need to communicate with the people and just hit the live button, and I guess the way I feel about it when I don't stream, I think right now I know the reason, 100% the reason why I haven't streamed in a while, and it's like I should have started already. Should have started back my streams and all that kind of stuff. But I think because I've got something coming up sometime soon, something I've spoken to you about, Raj, something
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that my missus is about, something I won't mention on the podcast right just yet. That kind of stuff, because I know that's gonna also affect my scheduling. It's gonna change a lot of stuff with my scheduling for a bit. It keeps me mentally detached a bit sometimes, because I'm thinking, ooh, when I start, I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to rearrange my schedule a bit, or you know, do a few things different. So it's sort of keeping me in a mindset of like, I don't know if to call it like pause. Like my brain is like thinking, okay, like I want to get this out of the way first, and then I can, like, you know, I'll be able to get into a routine that I can stick to. Because for me, I like being in a routine. I like knowing that, hey, no matter what, on this day at this time, this is going to be the thing that I will be doing. You know,
Yeah.
I think when I don't have that, I don't function well. Like I feel like
Yes.
I get into, you know, a bad rot of not being able to do anything. You know.
True. Yeah, you need goals. You need to set up goals. It's
Yeah.
important to have those things, you know, in front of you. It can be long term and short term, most like the combination.
Hmm.
And of course, in your situation, as you described, I think it might be a good idea, if I got it right, to maybe wait a bit until you've done what you need to do when it comes
Yeah.
to what we talked about. This is a bit talking very mystical right now, but
Hmm.
so maybe wait, and of course also after that, and see what happens regarding maybe new routines. Do you still fancy streaming? Is it something you
I
enjoy?
do. I do.
And if you do, well, yeah, sure. Then start to think, how much. Well, you found a place like doing it maybe once, twice a week. Okay,
Hmm.
fine, and then start getting back to it. But it's important once again to really listen to yourself. I'm glad, for example, that I cut down on my streaming. I
Hmm.
told you that I was doing it for a long time, 3 times a week, and in a way that
Yeah.
was good.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, it was just one day too much for me with
Hmm.
all the other things I'm doing,
Hmm.
and there's also more with the band also now, and
Hmm.
we just got to know that we have another concert on the 9th of December, so that was nice. That's scheduled now. And before that, we're going to continue to record and things, and you know, build the repertoire even further. So you know, it's the day only has like the 12 hours, at least most of it awakened, and then you are kind of, you know, maybe rest or sleep, but it's yeah, I would just suggest that you take it like, you start to think about these things, and maybe
Hmm.
think about what happens afterwards. You've done what you need to do, and then put up these goals in front of you. Because I try to do that also. I also reevaluate. Sometimes you've done a few things, maybe 3-4 months, and then it's a good thing to sit down and see, okay, how did I feel about this? And foremost, did it work? Did it work? Because sometimes we talked about the gym. I speak sometimes with some younger boys in the gym, which is fun. I try to share some experiences since I've been working out for so long,
Hmm.
and it's fun because they tend to listen, you know. And I just say that, well, you know, if you feel that what you're doing is working for you, well, good, then continue.
Hmm.
If that gives you, you know, what you need now, then fine, that's good. Stay on that road.
Hmm.
But if you don't feel that you're getting the results you want, then you have to start asking questions like, what is do I need to change my training program?
Hmm.
Am I not eating enough? How's my sleep? You know, there's a
Hmm.
lot of things coming into play here. So I think that's might be a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that, like, mentioning the gym part, that is also like an aspect of it for me. You know, it's like my workout routines and all that kind of stuff changed as well
Yes.
during the summer. It changed a lot where you know, I wasn't working out as much, and it's just, yeah. I think the thing for me is that I'm so good when I'm in a routine, when I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed
Yes.
to be doing all the time. Like, I'm doing the thing, so I don't have to think about it.
Yes.
It's like it's second nature. It's like breathing to me. But the minute that it breaks for any
Mm.
particular period of time, like a day, I'm fine with. Like a day, if I break for a day, and I can usually get back onto onto the horse, and just I'll be back again, like you know, within a day. But I think if more than a day passes, I get into a rut. It's really, really, really bad. And I think that's the thing for me, is figuring out how do I get out of that rut when I get into it, you know, because then it feels so challenging to get out of a rut. You know, sometimes when I get into one, it's like I know I'm in a rut. I can tell I'm in a rut. I understand it, but I'm like, how do I get back out of this? How do I get back to being on that horse? And I think my missus does a good job trying to get me out of the rut. Like a lot of the times, you know, she'll talk to me and she'll motivate me and she'll say a few things, and sometimes it works. Sometimes she gets me to you know, I like make smaller steps, but I think there's a side of me where I need to sort of like take that little boost and then run with it, because sometimes like I get the boost and I use it for like the little moment that she gives me that little boost, but then I go back. I haven't gotten that like out of the rut yet. I'm still in the rut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure, I understand. And a very common mistake that a lot of people do, at least from my experience, is especially when it comes to working out. I think we talked about this before. Is that you really feel that this is something I need. It's good for me, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it now, and I gotta do it like 4 times a week, and really hard. And after 3-4 weeks, they are totally broken, and they can't motivate themselves to continue to work out. Instead of thinking, how much time am I willing to spend, and how does my daily schedule look? And of course, where can I fit in, like working out, for example?
Right.
And then maybe you find out, it's like the same as with streaming or whatever, in a sense. Then maybe you find out that, well, to start with like 1-2 days a week, that sounds like a sound idea, because I can do that. I have the time there on Monday, and then, oh, look at that, Thursday evening, whatever, I don't know. So I think that's the best way to go. I mean, because again, working out, if you haven't been working out for a long time, everything more than not working out, meaning 0, is something.
Yeah.
If it's only one time a week, that's 1 time a week. That's more than 0.
Yeah.
So it's better to start like slow or little, if that makes sense, and then like build up if you feel like you want to, can, and need it. If you don't need it, don't let anyone say, well, you have to do this and in order to, you know, get stronger. Or I say this again. I've been working out so long and had a period of time when I was like a elite kind of, I was almost about to start to compete in fitness. I mean, I reached that kind of level.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Not really that big, but you know, yeah. Well, ish. but the thing is that there's a common thing that people or the whole industry also says that, well, more is better, more is more. But actually, I found out through the years that it's not really true, because the quality matters.
Yeah.
And the time spent when you actually do whatever, and now we're talking about working out apparently. So the quality time of working out matters, and the intensity of working out. So I would say you don't have to be at the gym like 3, 4, 5 times a week. You don't really. You can get amazing results just working out 2 times a week if you know what you're doing. If you put together a good like workout routine and give everything you have more or less every time you go to the gym, because then also you can stay a bit more motivated than if you are, especially if you haven't worked out for that long, like go 4 times a week and you still feel sore and you haven't really recovered, and then I gotta do like back and shoulders today and I feel weak. I mean, well, because you haven't recovered properly yet.
Yeah.
So listen to the body, listen to your senses, but most of all, what we're coming back to. Sorry, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to training and shit. So
it's perfect. I love it.
yeah. But yeah, routines are good. I think that most people, even those people that says I don't need routines, it's nothing for me. I think most people, like genetically wise, I would say, are better off with routines. I mean, it starts already when we are kids to a certain extent, even though we might not think so much about it. And also as an adult, I mean, I can just speak for myself. It is a huge challenge for me nowadays when I am trying to do what I do from home, like full time and everything, to not fall into the trap of starting to do other stuff when I'm in the house and everything. It takes
it's a lot of discipline. I
Yeah, it
think.
takes discipline. You need to work with your discipline and to find the ways to keep those routines going. And to a certain extent, as Miss AR wrote here too, you have to keep on pushing, especially also when you have those moments when it doesn't feel that great. And there's a kind of a pitfall around there a bit as well. For example, coming back to training, sometimes, especially nowadays, if I feel that my body doesn't feel like super, yeah, I might go and work out. I do that anyways, and usually I just feel much better afterwards. That's usually the case. But sometimes it might also be good to just listen and say, okay, I gotta rest today. I might take a walk. I gotta eat well and I gotta sleep well, and then you come back very much more motivated the day after. That could be a win too.
Yeah.
So you just gotta have to, again, as I said, reevaluate not only like the long term, as I said, after a few weeks or months, but maybe within the weekdays as well sometimes. So, but routines, I guess we can come down to that it's quite an important thing. And my experience also, knowing you for quite a few years now,
Yeah.
is that I feel that when you are having those routines, and I hear from you when we talk that you are into them,
Yeah.
then it's also when I kind of hear that you are doing well, feeling well, and you're also getting a lot of shit done. So
Yeah.
you know
Definitely.
yes. So I really wish that you soon will be able to find that both the combo of motivation, set up the goals, and find the routines that works for you. It don't be, and if something is a bit off, then change.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try new things or work in another way if that is something that is might be better for the results.
Will do.
So
I shall be keeping that in mind. As I say, like, got a few big things coming up sometime soon. Once those are out of the way, I'm hoping I can just, get into nice. And I think the because of some of these things coming up, are uncertain things. They're things that I don't have control over, in the sense of like stuff I need to do, but it also has, like, other people have a part to play in it outside of me, and that aspect of it being that I'm reliant on other people and stuff like that, it creates a lot of uncertainty for me mentally. And that prevents me from thinking, like, ahead of certain things. Because I'm like, if I don't know what's going to happen, in a couple of months about certain stuff, I'm like, okay,
sure.
what am I going to do with this? And what am I going to do with that? And so forth. And I think that, that does kind of keep me on edge, kind of keeps me from staying focused sometimes.
I can totally understand. I just want to fill in there and say that I can totally understand that, because I know that feeling too.
Yeah.
It kind of gets into you a bit. Like I don't often feel it, but when it comes to me and I start to like hesitate or even think, is this working?
Yeah.
Am I good enough to do this? Do I have what is needed? Those darker moments can be tough, because you start to you're not sure you're gonna make it. It's
That's
not
the thing.
pleasant feeling,
It is a quite worrying feeling, because and especially, as I say, like, when you're waiting on like, you're doing something that requires other people, that's not just yourself. I mean, I back myself in most things. I according to my family, I'm a bit overly confident, which is sometimes a bad thing, sometimes a good thing. So, like, when it comes to me, it's like, I'm like, okay, I know I can. If it's just up to me and I have to do this thing, I could do this thing. But then when it's like, if it's up to me and someone else, and I have to think about me and someone else, like, let's take this podcast, for example. I know I can count on you, because we've been doing this for a while. So I know no matter what, I can count on you with regards to the podcast. No matter, I could blink and know that like, I could close my eyes and think, yeah, Roger's going to be here on Tuesday. And if on Wednesday. If he's not on Wednesday, he's going to hit me up and let me know. Let's
I've been there every Tuesday and you're not there. I don't understand.
I know, right?
Oh, it was Wednesday. Okay, I got it. Nah,
Oh,
jokes aside. Yeah.
but yeah, I think like, but if you're not, like if you're not gonna be out there on a Wednesday, like you hit me up and we do Thursday instead or whatever have you and so
Yeah.
forth. And I can count on that. I can count on you in
Yeah,
that regard.
if I'm not there on a Wednesday when we're supposed to record, then
Yeah,
there's
I
a
know.
zombie apocalypse out there. That's the
Definitely.
only thing.
I think that's
That
probably happened once where I got up on I think a Wednesday and
I think it happened twice through the years,
you
but
think it's
even so,
twice. It feels
yeah,
like
I am pretty sure.
once.
I think it's twice actually.
Yeah, and I think you slept in one time,
Yes.
and I was sitting here waiting. I think I called you, you didn't pick up, and I was like, I wonder. I said, you know what? Because like knowing you, I'm like, if Roger isn't picking up, something must have happened. Like either he slept in or whatever. And then I think one point in time you told me like, oh, like I completely forgot, and then I was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, I can't remember you were doing something or whatever have you.
Yes,
Uh,
true. That is true.
but it was so rare that to me it's like I felt like wow, like that was not what I was expecting, like whereas usually I'm just like, I know like I can count on the back of my hand once podcast stays here, you're gonna be there, and I don't even have to think about it.
Mm.
So stuff like that, like when it's like not you and it's some random person that I don't really have the most faith in or knowledge of their how they do things, then I'm like, oh my god, I don't even know what the hell's gonna happen here, but I'm just hoping for the best. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the thing is that again that like good routines kind
Hmm.
of and good routines in combination with discipline creates like good habits, you might
Hmm.
say, and that goes for most things in life.
Yeah.
I think for me it started. It also depends on what kind of person you are to a certain extent, but it can
Hmm.
definitely be trained if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Because I started early, and also my career. I mean, I
Hmm.
spent so many hours like practicing also when it comes to the percussion instruments when I was studying like
Hmm.
early years, and also later on moving down here to Stockholm into the music academy.
Hmm.
And then I really needed to find ways to, because my goal was of course to improve and become as good as I can or could.
Yeah.
So I had to find ways to do just that or become
Hmm.
just that. And also, that kind of gave me, if I think back now, I haven't thought about it so much now, but
Hmm.
when I think back now, I can see that there's a pattern there that has kind of led me forward in other areas of life,
Hmm.
because I can see or understand sometimes what I need to or how I need to do certain things.
Hmm.
And I can have the uh, well, let's use the word discipline to
I was
get
actually
there.
thinking the exact same word. Like I like literally you were describing that. I was just thinking it's about the discipline. Like
Yeah.
you've learned the discipline from from your experience working in that field, and just the aspect of being a musician and
Yeah,
traveling
it's a grind. If we're gonna talk
Mhm.
gaming language, it's kind of a grind,
It
and
is
and you're looting and you're finding new things. You learn new things and you grow. You get like better experiences and better
better XP.
HP and everything and XP and it's actually true. It's actually true. It's
Mhm.
something like that.
Definitely.
So funny, yeah.
That makes it a whole lot
Well,
easier to
this is really interesting. This is
Mhm.
also something I like with these conversations, because this is the typical That Beautiful Life kind of approach when it
Yeah.
comes to our podcast. We start off, we have our routines with this podcast as well, like talk about the
Mhm.
week, and we get into Tele and we talk about gaming and la di da.
Mhm.
But it also can open up for certain topics.
Yeah.
Like something leads into something, and that's exactly what happened here, and that's really really cool.
I think those
Yeah.
are my favorite episodes, to be honest. I think my favorite episodes are when we like obviously we have our show notes, but I think
Yeah.
some of my favorite episodes are when we get into a topic that we probably otherwise didn't plan, and it just leads into this really organic conversation into something that it's just an interesting topic. At least I hope it is for people who view or listen to the podcast. That it is an interesting topic and it's something that they can
Mm.
relate to and resonate with well. Obviously we can't do that all the time, but
No, yeah,
uh,
but
it's
but
nice when it has that kind of
yeah, because it's also a good way to. I mean, even though we're doing this podcast and everything, we also need to ventilate. I mean, we need to,
Yes.
that's a kind of a thing we do when we also go back and talk about our week.
Hmm.
That's also a way of like reprocessing, you might see what you've been
Yeah.
through and maybe reflect over certain things like, oh, yeah, that was fun or that was not that great, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But it is what it is.
definitely.
Yeah, but bro, with that said, I mean, your week overall, then, yeah, I hear you've been pretty busy, isn't that so?
Yeah, pretty much. I think my so the kids are back at school. My brothers my younger brother stayed over here for the weekend. It wasn't planned.
Mm?
It just happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like I think maybe he planned it and I didn't because
exactly.
he had an overnight bag. So I think he planned to stay the night, which he's always welcome, of course. He's always welcome at mine,
Yeah.
whenever he wants to. But I did not. I honestly, like, my weekend was supposed to be completely different than I thought, and I had plans with my older brother. I was supposed to stay over at his house and look after my niece for him, for because he's gonna take my sister-in-law. They're just gonna spend some time together, sort of like celebrate an anniversary or something like that. And so that those plans were initially the plans I was supposed to have, and then those just change. And again, according to my routines, when things change, I kind of fall off. Like I don't know what to do with
Mm.
myself after that. So all those plans kind of changed, and then I was just in the thick of it. But generally speaking, I've had some plans this week that didn't. Some things that happened this week that didn't plan, that were great. That were just like amazing. And some of it will come in the gaming section. Well, I'll mention that, like something really amazing with regards to that and so forth. But the rest of it was just sort of like, yeah, just trying to just like figure out what am I doing with everyone and everything during the time that I was, that my family had, family time. So we just sort of chilled. We did some gaming. We played some Switch. We ate. I made my famous burgers, which I do make quite a nice burger sometimes, and
Ah.
yeah, just generally a bit of that, and that's kind of been it. Not much else to say about the week. I don't think anything else iconic happened this week. That I'm not mentioning yet, because there's something I do want to mention, but that's gonna come in the gaming section. Outside of that, nah. How about you?
Nah. Okay, I hear you. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week,
Mhm.
I would say. I have been following my routines pretty well, been quite productive, if I may say so.
If I do say so myself.
If I may say so myself. The weather, it's interesting. It's been like, yeah, we've had some days that kind of, September has almost been a bit better than August in many ways. It's
You're
been
talking
quite,
about the warm weather.
yeah, exactly. It's been quite hot. But
Yeah.
we've had more humid weather as well. I'm not a huge fan of that, but that
Hmm.
happened.
Same.
So I'm sitting here sweating a bit still.
Is it still
Um,
humid there?
yes, it is
Shit.
actually.
What
And
is the
even though
temperature?
right now I haven't
It's
watched.
13 for me.
Yeah. I mean, we've had like up to, hasn't been like crazy 30 or something, but it's been like 23, 24, even up to 25.
Mm.
But and it rained yesterday before I started to stream.
Hmm.
And I thought like, okay, rain usually makes something. It kind of, the air might get better, like fresh or something, but it
Yeah.
didn't really change that much, unfortunately. But fun fact, I think it's interesting sometimes. I don't know how when it comes to how, like smells or something like that, or
Hmm.
scents. I went out it was one of those walks with Isaac during lunchtime,
Hmm.
and I just came out and I got this immediately like feeling of, it doesn't feel as if I'm in Sweden or at home. It
Hmm.
felt like I got a smell that reminded me of when I was in Los Angeles. Like,
Really?
yes, it was super weird. It was something with the air, how it smelled, and something else, and I can't really put my finger on it.
Hmm.
But it was. Isn't that interesting how that can
Yeah.
like trigger you,
Hmm.
and or when it comes to. Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Yeah, and now I'm done, so I can move on. So at least it wasn't a shitty smell; it was a good one.
It reminds you of something,
Yeah, a memory,
of a memory. Yeah,
from
definitely.
early 90s. That's when we were there. It was one of my first trip with Chromata, actually, with
Hmm.
the music ensemble. Okay. No, other than that, it's been good. Wait, what day is it? It's Wednesday. So
Yeah.
we recorded recently. I think that must have been on Sunday. Yeah, with the
Hmm.
band.
Hmm.
So finally, because I think I mentioned our bass player, unfortunately, like 2 weeks ago, he erased the files that we already
Yeah, I
had.
know that
So
life.
so we had to record again. But it's good. It's good. It is working out well. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, Texas wise, out of 100 Fahrenheit. Oh shit. Yeah. That's another league, I would say. But yeah, that's more or less the gist of it. Otherwise, the week has more like played out as usual. I haven't. I need to speak with Adam. I haven't really
You haven't talked to
been
him in
so
a
much.
while.
No, he's in a very busy moment right now. I know that the studio is working hard. They're gonna present stuff for THQ Nordic
Hmm.
quite soon, I believe. So it's one of those months, as he
Yeah.
said. Well, when we're out of September, I can start to breathe properly again. I'm like, oh, son, take care of yourself. Talking about routines and also, you know, taking care of yourself when
Hmm.
you have those periods of hard work. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. But otherwise, I would say it's I feel I'm good. I'm good.
Hmm.
It's good. It's good over here, I believe.
That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
it is stuff will come soon. I'll talk about them later
Hmm.
in another episode, which will happen at the end here of September. But that's another story. So yeah,
Same. I think we both have some stories to tell coming up sometime soon.
indeed, yep,
Yeah.
new topics. Yeah. But with that said, we can get into the gaming, shouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. So I've got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And this story involves Chris, right?
Ooh.
So hi Chris. I'm sure you're in the chat somewhere. Have I seen him somewhere? I don't know. Chris just pops in from time to time. But maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Who knows? But anyway, my story begins with a Chris and ends with a friendship, a newfound friendship with someone. So like
Okay.
I haven't played Pokemon in a while. So that's the game I've been playing.
Mm.
And I when the new Pokemon came out, Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, I really got into it. And then after I played a bit, I kind of fell off, right? So I fell off
Ah.
because of the fact that I felt like I'd done everything like I wanted to do, and I just didn't feel like the game offered much. I was also hoping that maybe they would release an update that would make it run a bit more stable, give it a bit more stability, maybe like a performance patch or some kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
And also, I was hoping for other things, like the Master Decks, and then I was thinking like, oh, maybe they'll put out new Pokemon that I can get,
Mm.
DLC and all that kind of stuff. And in the end, I just put it aside and started focusing on other games that I think took priority, which is fine. But then in the end, there's a Pokemon that I really wanted to get that ended up popping up recently as a DLC event Pokemon, which happens to be Mewtwo, right? And for those of you who grew up in like the 90s, 2000s, you know about Pokemon, the movie, the first movie
Mm.
with Mewtwo and Mew, and that's like OG Pokemon. That's the one where I'm like,
Even
yeah,
I do that.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
actually the first film I've ever cried in. Like the first film I've ever
Oh.
watched where I
Oh
shed
man.
tears was for that film because I remember, I was really into Pokemon, and there's a scene in the film involving Ash, where I won't spoil just in case you're that young and you're listening to this podcast and you've never seen it before, but I cried, right? And
Oh.
and so essentially I have a big. I think Mewtwo is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I think it's a cool design and all that kind of stuff. And they released Mewtwo in the game, and I was like, shit, I need to get this thing. But this entire time I was playing the game, I never felt like doing this sort of new gaming system that they have called raid battles, right? Which is essentially you battle with other people, like it's 4 people together. So you and 3 other people battle a Pokemon that's like super strong and has like
Mm-hmm.
special abilities and moves that the other Pokemon don't. And I know when the game came out, a lot of people were doing them. I just didn't care for it. And eventually, inevitably, to get this Mewtwo, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do these raid battles because it was like the highest level raid battle in the game,
Ooh.
right? And
Ooh.
I'd done solo raid battles before in the game. Like I think I did like maybe twice or something, and I found it easy. But the difference is these were the early battles. These were like, so they're ranked by stars. I think so. These were like 3-star battles I did, and I was like, I don't see the reason I need to do this with other people. Is the way I thought about it. And then the 7-star battles, which is where the Mewtwo was, it's completely different. He's got more health. He has a shield. He basically heals himself. He's doing all sorts of crazy stuff. He's attacking everyone at once. It's ridiculous, all right? And so I went and I tried the raid battle by myself and got my ass handed to me. And then I was like, crap, I'm going to need some help. So initially, I made plans with my... with people from my Discord. So I reached out to people in my Discord and I was like, hey, anyone want to help me with Pokemon? And I had 2 people in there. One of them was Ocean, who you know, Raj.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And the other one was another girl from my Discord, another lady in there. And both of them were like, hey, I can do this, then that, and so forth. But because my schedule is so haphazard, I just couldn't match up with their schedules, and we just couldn't connect to do it. In the end, Ocean ended up doing it by himself. I think he did a solo run and ended up somehow doing it. I don't know what he did, but he said it took him 8 hours to do it. Which to me seems mental. I can't do that. 8 hours just trying to catch one Pokemon. I'd probably, my brain would explode. But he's dedicated. Ocean is hardcore. So so he did it, and then I was just sort of like, frack, what do I do now? Right. So I reached out to my neighbor, and I was like, hey man, because I know he plays Pokemon as well.
Oh.
So I walk over to his house, right? Like I go, my sister comes over for a bit, I forgot to mention my sister is here. Oh, there's that. My sister is here, by the way. I forgot to mention that in the whole weekly thing. My sister is here in the UK, and she kind of lives here now. I'll mention more about that in a future episode, hopefully.
Okay.
But yeah, generally we'll just kind of leave that like a minor little like tidbit kind of thing. Oh, thank you. Mrs. just brought me an orange, and I think this is supposed to be oatmeal or something, I think. Anyway, thank you, babe. So yeah, anyway, so I basically, where was I? I've lost my train of thought. This food has changed my mind into food.
It was regarding your neighbor and Pokemon.
Right. So I went to my neighbor and I was like, hey man, like, I went next door to his house and I knocked his door. His missus answers like, hey, is he home? And she's like, yeah, he's in the back. So I go, she's like, oh, you could just come on through and just go out in the garden because he's doing something in the garden. So I was like, okay, cool. So I go to the back of my neighbor's house and I'm like, hey man, like I need your help. And he's like, what? But the way I stated is like the world is coming to an end, which sometimes I do that just for dramatic effect. I don't actually need to do that. So I'm like, I need your help. It's really something urgent. And he's like, okay, bro, like, what's up? What do you need? And I'm like, I need your help catching a Pokemon. And he looks at me like, there's a side of like, I think he looks at it like, oh, okay. So like, yeah, I could do that. So then he's like, yeah, we could do that. He's like, well, I'm busy these days, but I'm available on these days. So he told me Tuesday and Thursday he's good to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we're gonna do it on Tuesday. I'm like, great, Tuesday's the day. I hit up another friend of mine who lives in my town, and I'm like, hey man, like, can you do it? And he's a bit he's not the most sociable person when it comes to stuff like that. So like I hit him up and he's just kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of like wishy-washy. But then I was like, dude, like let me know, like, is it yes or no? And he's like, he changed the topic, and I'm like, dude, like, is it yes or no? And eventually he's like, yes. So the day comes around, Tuesday, and my neighbor pulls out. He's like, man, like I jumped in yesterday and I tried it out and I don't feel like I'm into it anymore. And I was like, say no more, bro, it's okay. He's like, yeah, I don't feel like I could help you with it because like, I'm gonna have to like get my team ready and all that kind of stuff. And at the time I was just like, oh man, bummer, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Right. But it was a blessing in disguise because then the one person I should have reached out in the first two was Chris. Chris is a huge Pokemon fan and he has a whole network of people that play Pokemon. So after that, I just sort of was like, oh well. And then Chris came to me. I was like, let me hit Chris up and see what he's saying. So I called Chris on the phone. I'm like, Chris, this was like in the middle of the afternoon, like after 5 or something, or minutes to 5. I'm like, Chris, what's up? He's like, hey man, what's up? I was like, you work? He's like, no, I'm home. So I'm like, dude, I need some help. He's like, with what? I was like, I need help catching Mewtwo. And he's like, say no more. I've got you. And Chris just like, he just went into some group chat and was like, I've got some guys ready to go. I'm like, what? He's got 3 guys
Look
ready
at that now.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, like, okay, let's do this then. So we get on a call, we're in a group call with these guys, and at first it was just 3 of us, and then a 4th guy joined the call, but he was helping us the first round. We lost the battle, and he joined the call for the 4th round. For the 2nd round, sorry. And there was the 4 of us in this call. And this guy happened to be the main topic of the thing. He was awesome, right? So the banter he was given, he's also Trini, also happened to live in the UK as well. And we just had like some brilliant banter back and forth between him, I, Chris, and everyone in the call. We just having all this banter, and it was just so good. And we ended up talking up, like we did the thing, we called the Mewtwo, la-di-da, that's beyond the point. But essentially, we end up chatting even after. So like the podcast, the sort of like the gaming session ended, and then we just kept talking, like, you know,
wow.
And we
Cool.
talked straight into the night for like hours, just chatting about life, family, how we ended up moving to the UK, all these sort of things. And it was just a really, really insightful, livid conversation with him. And so I just want to say, you know, shout out to him. He's awesome. And, you guys will probably hear a bit more about him in the future because of the fact that we will continue chatting. I won't name drop him because like I don't know if he's comfortable with that. I think maybe in the future, because I did send him a link to this episode that we do in the episode, and he's gonna get mentioned in it. So he did say he'll listen to it. When he listens to it, he'll probably let me know if he feels comfortable in the future of me, you know, mentioning him by name, or if not, I don't know. Depending on his work, maybe he can't. I don't know how it would work. But anyway, the point is, he was a cool dude. He lives in the UK. We'll be catching up in the future, and yeah, he's now a new buddy. So I think
Cool.
sometimes it's just nice. Sometimes things don't work out the way you plan it to, but then they work out in a way that's even better. And I think in that sense, it has worked out for the better because of the fact that I was able to form a new friendship with someone. And I don't have a lot of Trini friends in the UK, so it was nice to just make friends with someone who happens to be Trini in the UK, and also be a gamer. So that's even better, you know. So you guys may hear me talking a bit more about Pokemon now because I've got people to play Pokemon with, and
That's great. Look at that now.
So yeah, that has kind of been my gaming, Raj. The floor is all yours.
The floor. Oh, shall I dance or what should I do?
Yeah.
No, not yet. That's another show somewhere else. No, I've been playing. I've been looking into a game called Synced that was released just recently on the 8th of September. I did not know about this game. The name might have passed, you know, my mind because it sounded familiar. But this is a newly released game. It's a futuristic free-to-play co-op shooter. I would say it's kind of a looter shooter. It's developed by Next Studios and published by Level Infinite. I think, I do think Level Infinite is a kind of another name for some kind of Tencent games, you know, like whatever. In this game, you deploy either solo or with your squad, and you have the thing that kind of, it's really nothing super new to the table. But on the other hand, one thing that, well, we've seen it in other genres maybe of games, but you have a we're almost about to say pet, but that's not the thing. You have a how do you say, like
mount?
I said it's a nano. No, it's not a mount. It's a creature, a tamed nano. Because in this collapsed world, you can either play PvE and PvP. By the way, it's most focused on PvE, I would say. Think Destiny too. It's one of those games, I would say, for sure. I also covered some years ago a game called Outriders. Actually, gonna see if it's still around out there and how it's doing. It has mixed reviews so far. I can see both good and bad. I put my teeth in it, you might say, the other day. I have a video on my channel if anyone is interested. where I make more or less a review actually of the game. It's not really in depth. I don't go into depth when it comes to the actual how the loot works when it comes to like putting mods onto your like runner. The word is runner when it comes to your character. I think you have like 4 types of runners.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same when it comes to these nanos that you can use in battle.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes pretty cool. It's like it's pretty well made. I have to say, it looks pretty good. The game for me, it's a bit on. Well, I think it's a combination of the fact that the game most likely needs to become even better. How do you say optimized?
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling hard, which is unfortunate when I tried to get into play PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Like PvE, playing by myself mostly, I didn't really have problems. I saw my frames go down a bit now and then. But the PvP, for some reason, that was horrible. I had such frame drops and stuttering. I've heard other people complaining. So I don't think it's just the fact that I'm more towards a mid or low end PC kind of spec right now. But yeah, so it's interesting. I gave it. I can spoil and say I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. I usually don't do that, but in this video I did. I actually spit it out there, and it's a decent game in the genre. I think the shooting, and of course it's hard not to, compare games.
Yeah.
Especially also when you want to give the viewer a kind of sense of what is this, When I talked a bit about Destiny 2, I just said that, the shooter or the shooting, I would say, is of course very important in a game like this. And in Destiny 2, it's very smooth.
Yeah.
It feels really good in that sense. That's not really the case here. It could be better. But again, it is what it is. And I see the reactions here also on Steam. As said, it has like different sayings. Some are very positive, and you have, of course, the opposite around. Some says that the gameplay in an instance feels pretty good, but everything outside of that feels like it was designed by people who don't play video games. Don't really care if people play theirs. There is a monetization system within the game. I want to see, as I say in the video, I don't think it will affect like the balance when it comes to like being paid to win or something, but that is to be seen. People have that is an interesting topic in itself, because I've seen, especially the videos that has been doing really well on my channel, and you start to get a lot of people getting into the discussion in the comment section, how they think or how they define what's paid to win, because per definition, everything that gives a player a certain advantage over others by purchasing something in the game, that is paid to win.
True.
And it actually doesn't really matter if you can achieve the same. It does matter though, but I mean, it's more paid to win if you can't achieve that by only playing. But even though if you can do that by playing, it's still a pay to win kind of situation. Maybe some would be nice and say, well, it's pay to advance. Well, you can say that, but still, well,
I disagree if it's something that you compete with other people, because even like, for example, like, let's say, for example, a game that I play, which is eFootball 2024, sorry. eFootball is pay to win at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, because like, I don't pay money into the game. I don't buy the packs or whatever you call them and so forth. I tend to just play, when I get time, and I level up my team and so forth. But there are players who play the game and they're able to buy all the best players and all this sort of stuff. They invest a lot of money into their teams. And excuse me, the best way I can put it is the people who are on a similar level to me and have the money, their teams outplay my teams. So even though like we're on a similar skill level, and I can, maybe beat them, every now and then. I think because of the fact that they have a better team with players that can do better stuff than me. For example, someone I played against some time ago, he had David Beckham in his team. And normally the way I play, like I can stop most right wingers from doing certain things. But David Beckham is broken. Like the way he kills a ball is it's insane. So every time he crossed the ball in, and the guy he had up front was like some top rate striker. I don't know if it was Inzaghi or whoever the name was, some legendary striker. He was just perfectly jumping and just heading the balls in. Nothing I did stopped this guy. Like literally nothing I did. And the difference between playing him and someone else, and we were on the same skill level, right? But what gave him the advantage was the players that he had in his team. You know, he had some players that were just ridiculously good. And that's the thing I would say would make it pay to win, is that if I could just buy those players and put them into my team, that makes me automatically better than people of the same skill level as me.
Yeah, right. There you
and
go.
It wouldn't automatically make me better than people who are better than me, because obviously they are better than me skill level wise.
Sure.
But the people on the same skill level as me, I'm already ahead of them by having better players, you know. In the same way, people who have weaker players than me, it doesn't matter. They could be of a higher skill level than me, but 9 times out of 10, I may be able to take them down because my players are better than theirs.
Yeah,
you know, so
it's a pity. I mean, this kind of system, I mean, it's been criticized and talked about for a long time, the whole monetization system in games overall, and what's gambling or not and stuff like that. I mean, there's something in this game, I believe. I haven't tried it out. It's like a vendor machine or something. That is so that just that in the game makes it not being able to be played in Belgium, for example, because they have laws against that when it comes to video games.
Yeah.
But even so, yeah, it's unfortunate, especially now. Like 5-10 years ago, it was more common with this stupid like pay-to-win situation. A lot of developers have learned the lesson, and it's mostly nowadays most of the games I play and try out, it's more cosmetics, you know. But yeah, we'll see. I keep an eye on this. I can add to it then that it's only on PC right now, but they will have a release on PlayStation 5 and I believe Xbox XS. I think isn't that what it's called? Yeah,
Series X and Series S.
Yeah, Series X. Sorry, yeah, it's further down the line, and of course also it will be cross-play when that happens. So we'll see. I made a verdict regarding the game. I think it will be really hard for. I've seen so many games like the last years that maybe they last for tops a year and then they tend to vanish or even get taken down. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for Synced as well. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think a game like that is in a saturated place, or saturated space where there's a lot of games like it. So it's probably going to be more difficult to break into that space. Unless you have something that's so unique about it.
Exactly, it stands out and really, really delivers.
Yeah.
Because also to add to it, besides the discussion regarding monetization and stuff, the problem very often is they tend to not be able to put out, I would say, enough content also to please the player base, at least not a certain percentage of it.
Yeah.
And it's true, we're going a bit over time. I can see that too. We're definitely pushing over the 1 hour mark, which is not our intention.
It's not.
But we got into this beautiful discussion before, and I guess that's why. But we can leave Sync behind, and I also going to be brief. I'm going to get into Tele straight away, actually, and just say that I have continued to watch. I mentioned the series that keep me like a kind of a prisoner in front of the screen, and that is the Van Helsing series on Netflix. I think I talked about it last time. It never ends. It's one of those that it never ends. I might have put it on a loop and starting to rewatch it. I don't know. I can't see the difference anymore. And you might say, why aren't you stop watching? I need to know how it ends. I need to know how it ends. I'm sorry, guys. But I wanted to mention Ashoka. Ashoka still feels good. I think it's definitely worth it. If it's one of those series that you might consider, of course, it's on Disney Plus apparently, but there are ways around that. So consider to watch Ashoka if you're into Star Wars. I like it. There's always opinions in every, like, especially regarding big franchises, and it could be games, it could be in this case like Star Wars. There's always opinions about the casting and whatever have you, but I just take it for what it is, and I think you will enjoy it. I believe.
Also, I think it's worth shouting out as well right now that if you want to watch Ashoka, Disney Plus is available right now, at least here in the UK. I don't know how it is everywhere else. It's available for $1.99. Right? I think it's like $1.99 for 3 months. So if you want to get it, now is probably the best time. And if you don't plan to keep it, you could just like set on a timer reminder, like, hey, cancel this in like 2 months and a half or something, so you don't end up getting charged because it's gonna go back to the regular price after the 3 months. But $199 for 3 months is not a bad deal. To get all that Disney Plus has to offer. I think we renewed our Disney Plus for the $199. And like we didn't have it for a while, and we renewed it for the $199. And I think for us, just coming back to it and being able to just pull in Bluey for like Thai has been amazing. Like I love Bluey, man. That stuff is so good. Or even like, for example, he started back watching one of his favorite documentaries that he used to watch called Weird But True. And it's such a good documentary series for kids. I think if you have little ones, two of the best shows on Disney, like just in general, is Weird But True and Bluey are two of the best ones I've found introducing Thai to those. So yeah,
it's nice. It's good. Even though, as Nal is saying, Disney's losing a lot or too much money right now, which can definitely be true. Maybe they should stop doing these live action movies now.
They probably should. I think it depends on what you're looking for. I think for kids, I think of all the platforms that I've used, Disney has the best catalog for kids. And
that's good. Yeah, they should have in a way. But
they should. Because like when you look at the classic stuff and you look at some of the modern stuff they have for kids, I think it's really good. Like again, like Weird But True is really good when it comes to. I wish they did more of it. Because I think Disney owns I think it's Discovery Kids, and I think that's where Weird But True comes from. So on Weird But True on Disney Plus, you get like one season, one long season or something like that. It's like season 3. But I wish they did like a 4th season because apparently they haven't done any new seasons in the show. And it's such a good series for kids because it teaches them so many topics about a lot of different scientific things and stuff like that. But it's taught in a way that kids will like, and they find it fun. And I like it. I find it enjoyable as well. Like I said, and I watch with Ty and I find it really good. And it's the same for Bluey. I think Bluey is such a good show to watch like with your kid. Like you can sit and watch Bluey and enjoy it with your kid and not get bored because the storylines are so interesting, and especially as a parent, the storylines are about you as the parent, so those are, I would say, if you are a parent, Disney Plus is a huge recommendation from me right now on sale. If you're not a parent and you want to check out Ashoka, I would say you could probably still check it out for the price.
Yeah.
Probably. If I had to say about what I watched this week, it's something brief. I have been watching the One Piece anime. Excuse me. I watched like 3 episodes or something like that. And now, obviously, you guys know I read the manga, so watching the anime is something new to me. But I've watched the anime because I watched the live action last week. And I wanted to mention that a bit because of the fact my missus is watching the anime now, and she is so into it. I'm so proud of her. She's watching the anime. My younger sister probably wants me to mention her too as well because she called me on the phone. I was like, "Oh, big brother, I'm watching the One Piece anime," and I was just like, "Yeah, is it because everyone else is watching this live action?" And she's like, "Oh, like yeah, I watched the live action too." I was like, "Shame on you." Because and the reason my younger sister doesn't get the adornment that my missus gets is because my missus, when I told her about One Piece, she was like, "I'll start it eventually," and she did. Now, obviously, she started along with all the hype, but I'm fine with that. She started with my younger sister for years. This girl has been telling me, "Oh, I don't want to watch that because One Piece is too long or blah blah blah. Or I don't like the art style and all this sort of stuff." She's like been pushing back, but all of a sudden, because there's a hype train, she has joined that hype train, and she's like, "Now I'm watching One Piece, Q. You should be proud of me." No, I'm not. So it's basically that. She should have listened because I introduced my younger sister to anime, and she should have listened to me from day one. She shouldn't have to let a hype train come around before she got into something as splendiferous as One Piece. But anyway, go check out the One Piece anime as well if you want to. It's pretty fun. And read the manga. It's great. It's also good.
Good stuff.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've been watching. And the family's been watching.
Sounds good. Sounds
like
a treat.
I forgot to end the episode. Is that a thing?
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's time to continue the day, whatever it has to offer. I don't know. We'll see. It's Wednesday. That's all I know. That's good enough. No, I have my routines, and I'm going to get into it. The routine tells me that I'm going to go and make coffee. That's actually what I'm going to start to do. But before that, I of course want to say thank you for listening, and that goes for you guys that has been here or are here live. Thank you, and also if you are, listening in afterwards, that's also beautiful because this is that beautiful live podcast, and we have been talking about stuff. You got some tips also when it comes to, well, I would say some life hacks maybe, and also some beautiful Tele stuff and gaming that we like to do and watch. So, with that said, stay healthy, my friends, and talk to you soon again. So, Muffin and out.
Beautiful as always. Raj, there's a thing that we usually do right about now. Well, that we don't usually do right about now, but we can do right about now. What's that thing called?
Shout out for your podcast.
Oh, I love it. It's been a while. Shout out for your podcast this week is a podcast called The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, sorry. Obviously, I didn't prepare this for you, so I can't send you the description of it. It says let's see if I can do a brief one of this. It says a year ago I was a broke university dropout living on a studio flat in a rough area. At 18 I started a company which would eventually become a social chain, an industry leading marketing company. At 26 the company was generating 600 million a year in revenue. At 27, I resigned as CEO and launched the Diary of a CEO podcast with the simple mission of unfiltered success and giving you the knowledge you need to create the life you want. Thank you for listening. My book, blah blah blah, link and so forth. So this is on my subscription list. This is when I mentioned earlier in the podcast about listening to a podcast and listening about the football player Ivan Toney. That's the podcast. My missus came in and just started pointing like podcast. Oh yeah, there's a few of you guys inside. You guys should probably give us a like if you enjoy the podcast. Thank you. Helps us reach more people, in that algorithm thing that YouTube calls it. But yeah, that is it. So with that, guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode of That Beautiful Life podcast. We as always hope you guys enjoy the show. You can find Raj pretty much anywhere else if you want to check out what his live streams and all the stuff that he does. He's 40 Splish Splashers, the number 40 with SPLASH. He streams on a Tuesday and a Sunday. That's correct, Raj?
Correcto.
Oof, so perfect. You can find me at LP Gardner's Garden.eu pretty much everywhere else. You can also find us at Simply Binge or at Simply Binge UK, pretty much all over the place. I supposed to stream on a Monday and a Thursday, but as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, my routines are horrible at the moment. I need to get back on that train. But anyway, that being said, as always, we wouldn't let you guys miss on any of the episodes of That Beautiful Life podcast. Many beautiful people like to subscribe to this podcast on Castbox, Acast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, simplybinge.com, and elsewhere. And what's the company that you're gonna like it that we're giving them for free? So as always, guys, this has been queued for your pleasure. And it's a wrap.